Here's everything I knit in 2024. I almost feel like test knits or knit-alongs. I actually finished this in one day. It was so fast to knit and I really did not like the color at all. My sewing machine is in the basement and I'm scared of my basement. 2024 was my second year of knitting. It was a lot of fun. Last year was my first year of knitting and that was all about learning about different yarns, trying out different yarns, different pattern designers, knitting different types of patterns, and that was all fun and everything. But 2024 I really wanted to enter the test knitting game and I did a few test knits, which I'm going to talk about, and then I had a little bit of a burnout in July, so mid-year, June, July I would say, and that kind of impacted how I felt and how I wanted to go about knitting in the future, so I'll talk a little bit about that too. And then I ended off the year with knitting some pieces that I really love, so yeah, let's go through all of this. I'll be giving a brief overview of each piece, and of course I always do a try on, so I'll insert some try on clips as I talk about each piece. I love watching these videos whenever other people show everything they knit, so I figured I would do the same, and I think this is a really great way to recap my whole year of knitting. I also just want to mention that most of these have knit vlogs, so I will try to link the related knit vlog up top here and down below as well, and the ones that don't have knit vlogs out yet, they will be coming soon. But let's start with the first one. This is the Quiet Delight beanie, and I do actually have a knit vlog on this. This was my very first knit vlog and it was very interesting because I kind of made it into like knitting challenge instead of a knit vlog. I was trying to knit this in time for Christmas so that I could give it to my boyfriend as a present, but I did not meet the deadline, but it's all good because I finished it. This is my version. I knitted one for myself and I knitted one for him with the same yarn and the same, I made his bigger, actually not the same size. I have Ravelry and my YouTube channel just on the left hand side here so I can reference everything and I won't forget. This is the one I knitted for myself. I knitted the one for my boyfriend a tiny bit bigger because the size that Veronika has in her pattern book didn't even fit my boyfriend's head. Like, I feel like he just has a really big head. So I had to size it up for him. Let me just take a look. I haven't opened this book in a while, but I'm happy to say that I at least knitted one thing from here. So this is the pattern in her book. It's the Quiet Delight beanie. This is a brioche beanie and there are two sizes. One is size small and one is size medium. My boyfriend's I knitted in a size medium, but I added even more stitches because the size medium in the book just didn't even meet his head circumference, so I made it a tiny bit bigger. I'm pretty sure mine is just in a size medium. It's just a really nice beanie. This was my first and second beanie. So I think I knitted one for myself first because the one I tried to knit for him was too small. Like, this one didn't even fit around his head. And then the other one, I had to really upsize it and make it bigger to fit his head. So yeah, I knitted this twice, and honestly, this was like my first time and second time ever knitting a beanie. I've never really knitted a beanie before. To be honest, I'm not really a beanie person. Like, I don't really like to wear hats. I'll wear caps if it's really sunny out, but I try to take it off when it's not sunny anyway. I'm just like not really a hat person, and that's why you don't really see me knitting hats. I probably wore this a handful of times in the winter, but if it's not winter, I try not to wear this at all. I do really like the color though. I think the color looks really nice. I held two yarn together knitting this. One is the Sandnes Garn Sunday 3071 and the other one is the Tynn Silk Mohair 3161. And of course all the details will be linked down below as well. And that's that. This is my first and second Quiet Delight beanie. I don't have the other one because I already gave it to my boyfriend, and I would say this is my first knit or last knit of 2023, but here we go. That's the Quiet Delight beanie. Let's go into our actual first knit for 2024, and that is my Salty Day sweater. This one is very special to me because this was what really started my whole knit vlog journey. In 2024, I just really wanted to start vlogging my knits and the whole progress of everything and how I knit a piece from beginning to end. Technically, I started with this piece. Like, you can find my knit vlog down below, but my official knit vlog was really this one right here. This was when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna create it into like an actual series and I'm gonna make episodes and stuff like that. This is also by Veronika Lindberg. It's not in the pattern book that I just showed you. You have to buy a pattern online. I think it's very wearable. Like, you can definitely wear this in the winter time, you can wear it in the summer. I've worn it in the summer for sure because of all the holes. I feel like you have ventilation, and I know some people use different yarns, like a lighter yarn, so that they can make it more of a summer version. Like, for example, I was watching Haley Space. She knitted this in a cotton yarn with the purpose of wearing it in the summertime, which I thought was really smart actually. I knitted mine with one strand of Babyull, which is favorite yarn ever. It's Sandnes Garn's baby yarn, and in the color 1015 Putty, and I held it together with one strand of this cashmere yarn that I bought from AliExpress. That cashmere yarn is very soft and it felt really nice, and then I thought that if I held it together with the baby yarn, it would be really smooth, no itch, nothing. So I did that, and honestly I really like the feeling of this. I have no complaints. The first time I made this though, the sleeves were too short, so I went ahead and I extended them. I did it two different ways. One sleeve I frogged all the way back to the 2x1 ribbing, then I just knitted the whole chart again, and then I ended up with the ribbing. That was one way that I used to extend this. The other way, I actually just cut off like part of the sleeve, and then I extended the ribbing, and then I connected it with Kitchener stitch. And honestly, I don't think you can notice the difference between the two. I think when you wear it, you can't tell the difference. So either way works for extending sleeves, and if you want to extend sleeves, I would honestly just suggest you to try the latter method. I think it would save a lot of time and you don't have to reknit the ribbing and the chart. I did this little fix up in July during my like knitting lull, so I will talk more about that later, but this is a really great piece. I highly recommend this pattern. I know a lot of people were talking about some issues with the sleeves, and then there's also one chart, I don't remember which chart, maybe chart C. One of these guys, I think it was the one down here, there is a part of the pattern where a lot of people were misunderstanding, including myself. So if you're knitting this, just be careful when you get to this part, because I screwed up a few times, but luckily I got through it. But yeah, other than that, I really like this sweater and I wear it all the time, and I would say this is definitely a sweater that you can wear in any season, so I highly recommend this one. So that's the Salty Day sweater. It's so pretty too. Now that I'm actually looking into my history of knits this year, I realized that I did try to knit from my pattern books, because I have a lot of physical copies of knitting pattern books, and I always tell myself that I feel like I don't knit enough from them. But now that I'm looking at all the stuff I've knit, I have actually knitted from my pattern books, so you know what? I am proud of myself. This one is the Baguette bag by Sandnes Garn. I bought their pattern book, and I don't remember which one. Let me go get it. Alright, I just went to go grab the Sandnes Garn pattern book that I knitted the Baguette bag from. This is the 2021 fall book, and this was one of the patterns in there. It is a crochet piece. I decided that I wanted to do a crochet bag because one, I wanted to knit something from a pattern book, and two, I just really like the look of this. But the problem is I crocheted it, but I never actually put the chains on, so I never used this year. Ideally, I would have put a pouch with a zipper inside, sewed the pouch along the outside so that it would really reinforce the bag and make it more sturdy, then put the chain onto the sewn pouch. But I just never got around to doing it, and my sewing machine is in the basement and I'm scared of my basement, so I feel like this is just not going to be done until next year, because I am moving next year and I'm going to be taking the sewing machine with me into a more cozy and comfortable place where I feel better sewing. Next year I really want to explore sewing some more. Once I move into my new place and I bring my sewing machine with me, I will have a lot more opportunities to sew and to work on that hobby. So yeah, this one is going to be a to be continued. I still really want to sew a pouch and put in the chains. This might end up being a spring 2025 bag. I wanted to use it this year and this spring summer, but I just never got around to it. The Baguette bag is crocheted on 4mm and 5mm hook. So the body, I believe, is 5mm, and then up here is 4mm. It's also suggested to use Mandarin Petit as your yarn, by Sandnes Garn, and that's exactly what I did. I used the color 6061 Sandnes Garn Mandarin Petit. It's a 100% cotton yarn, and I really like it. I really like the color of this yarn too. I just wish that I can finally finish it off and get the chain and the pouch sewn in, so this is to be continued. You might see it again next year. Now we are entering my test knit era, and we started off with the Belle blouse, which is so delicate and so pretty. I knitted this in the spring, and during that time I just really wanted to use yellow and brighter colors because, you know, spring and summer was coming and I was very happy and I just wanted to use brighter yarn. So I decided to use this beautiful yellow from Sandnes Garn. The bottom here is knitted in Sandnes Garn Sunday, and the top here is knitted in Mohair, also from Sandnes Garn, the Tynn silk Mohair, both of which is the color 2122. It's called Yellowmoon or Yellow Moonstone, and I knitted this in a size small. This is part of Savannah's test knit, and it was a lot of fun. It was my first time test knitting, and I wanted to make sure that I gave them really great notes, and I took every part of it very seriously because I've never test knitted before this piece, and when I did my first test knit I was just so serious about it. Like, I was studying every sentence of the pattern, and it was a lot of fun actually. I would say this was a really pretty piece, and I've learned so many different things about knitting that I've never done before. Like, I didn't know how to do the sash like this, and it just utilized a lot of techniques that I've never done, so I do really cherish this piece. However, I will say I don't wear this, which really sucks, but I think if you were to look at my wardrobe and my day-to-day style, like, this is not really part of it, so it really sucks, but that's just the reality of things. It was nice in the sense that I got to test knit and got to try this out, and now I have this beautiful piece, but it's just not very everyday wearable. I would say if you want to go to a party or like you want to dress up a little bit, then this could definitely be a top that you put on. You could definitely make this wearable. It's just, I think I made it in a color that's a little bit too bright for my comfort, and I just don't really find myself wearing it. And on top of that, it's a little bit more revealing, and I typically wear clothes that cover up my arms and everything, so I just don't really find myself wearing this, unfortunately. But I still think this is a very pretty piece, and I definitely want you to check out Savannah's patterns because she has a lot of great patterns. Her username is Maiden Knitwear. Her whole idea is that she wants to find inspiration in her favorite novels, paintings, characters throughout history, and bring them to life in modern silhouettes and knitting techniques. So she's actually just knitting a bunch of really cool pieces that she finds in like historical novels, paintings, and everything like that. So you should definitely check out what she does because I am obsessed with her work. Maybe this really aligns with somebody else's style out there, so I highly urge you to take a look at what she has to offer because I think her work is really beautiful. So that's the Belle blouse. The next one is my vlog number 2, which is my Puro cardigan. Now we're really kind of going in order of my knit vlogs. I knitted this in one strand of Naro Madara in the color Sake. This was a very popular yarn actually, and I saw a lot of people using it, but I've never used Naro Madara before this, and actually I've never used Noro at all before this because Noro is a little bit more expensive for me, and I just was a little bit more new at knitting and I couldn't justify like spending so much on yarn. But anyway, I decided to spend money on the Noro Madara Sake, and luckily I found it online. I know this is always sold out, and I somehow found it at one of the stores in Ontario that would ship to me, so I was very happy to purchase this. The yarn itself is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's so pretty. It's so unique, but I would say the feeling of it is definitely more scratchy and more rustic. I am somebody who likes to wear softer pieces and smoother pieces, but this one I have to wear a shirt underneath. That is okay because most of the time I wear this in the wintertime where I do have a bottom layering piece, so that doesn't really bother me. Like, if I have a long sleeve, this won't bother me at all, but you will not catch me wearing this with just a tank top underneath or anything like that because it's just too scratchy. This pattern is by Yamamuro, and you're gonna find that I end up knitting a bunch of her patterns later in the year. I really like the way she writes her patterns. It's simple, it's easy, and honestly the construction of the Puro cardigan is pretty basic. It's mainly just raglan increases, and then afterwards the body is pretty short because it is more of a cropped look. This was knitted in size 3 because I wanted a more oversized look, and I saw Yamamuro wearing a size 3 and I felt like it looked really great on her, so I wanted the same look for myself. The needle size for this project was 6.5 millimeter, but there are times where you have to use 5.5 and 5 millimeters on the ribbing and also the button band. So this is actually a super fast piece. It will literally fly off your needles. You can definitely knit this in like 3 weeks, like comfortably, and I think it didn't take me long either because of the yarn and also just the needle being so much bigger, and it's a simple construction. The more complicated techniques would just be honestly the button band, and if you've already mastered that, I don't see why this piece would be difficult. And then also of course increases for raglan, but everything else was just mainly stock knit and really simple. So if you want to whip up a cardigan quickly and you want a simple design, definitely look at the Puro cardigan. I finished this one in March 2024. So that is the Puro cardigan. If you find that you want to learn more about each piece, or maybe there are some details that I've left out, definitely check out the description box because I'll put more details in there. And also I have knit vlogs where I really go in depth of knitting each of these patterns, so definitely take a look there if you want more details. You can also leave a comment down below with your question and I will try my best to answer as well. So this is the Puro cardigan. Shortly after the Puro cardigan, I really wanted to knit something else by Yamamuro because I was just really obsessed with her patterns and the way it looks on my body, and I felt like it really fit my style. So I decided to join one of her test knits, and this is the Flocon sweater. This was my second test knit, and I just remember being so in love with knitting at this time. My spring summer 2024 was just full of hope and brightness and happiness, and I just felt like knitting was like the most fun thing ever. So I kind of dove into a lot of projects all at once, and whenever I saw a test knit I would apply because I was thinking that I wouldn't get accepted anyway, so I might as well just apply. And I ended up getting a few test knits, and this is my second test knit that I've ever participated in. For this sweater I decided to experiment a little bit, and I used a yellow base yarn and then I held it together with more of a white mohair, and I just really like how this looked. You can even see here it makes it look a little bit more unique. This is knitted in the Room Natura Candide in the color Citronade, and then held together with their mohair, which is called the Room Natura Bernice in the color Orgeat. So I had both of the Room Natura yarn. I think one of the conditions for the test knit was that you have to use that yarn, so I ended up buying it from France and shipping it over. It was cheaper to buy the yarn from France, but the shipping was so expensive. I feel like I could have just purchased it myself at the knitting loft. It would have been the same price honestly, but the only difference is that if I bought it from France, they had a lot more color options and they had more in stock. If I were to purchase it from the knitting loft, I wouldn't have had as many options. The top is completely knitted in stock knit, and then the bottom is knitted in this really pretty stitch. I think this is what makes it a Flocon sweater. Flocon means snowflake, and this is a stitching that really gives it its name. This was knitted on 5.5 millimeter, and then the ribbing were knitted on 4.5 and 4 millimeter. I don't remember if I sized up on this or not, but my knit vlog will definitely tell you if I did or not. I feel like I need to start putting in notes on my page, like my Ravelry page, because I don't remember anything at all. I used to be really good at this. I had like a whole Excel document last year for 2023 and I put down all my notes and all of that, but this year I just haven't been doing that at all. But I have been documenting it in video format on my vlogs, so I guess that kind of makes up for it. This video would just be more of an overview and summary of each piece. It is a little bit scratchy, like a tiny bit, but I don't really notice it as much as like if I were to just wear mohair against my skin. I remember saying in my vlog that it wasn't itching me at all before I blocked it, but actually after I blocked it, it made me feel a little bit more itchy, which is so weird because usually when you block it, it feels softer and smoother, but for this one it kind of felt the opposite. It's not bad at all, but I think if I were to choose something in the morning, like at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm tired, I just want to be comfortable, this is not something I would choose. But if I wear a turtleneck underneath, I don't think this would be an issue. I finished that piece on April 21st, 2024. Alright, that was the Flocon sweater. That was my second test knit. Now we're moving into my third test knit. I'm like really obsessed with knitting and test knitting at this point in the year. I think it's because I like the idea of being in a group where we're all knitting the same thing together. Like, I think I actually really like knit-alongs, and I like seeing other people's progresses and where they're at for the pattern. So I personally really like test knits, and I felt like I was part of a community, so that was really fun for me. And I think that's kind of why I joined an MCAL later, but I'll talk about the MCAL later. So this is the Marie skirt, and I really like the Marie skirt. I actually wear this quite a bit in the summer slash spring fall time, but like not now because it's too cold. I don't really want to wear tights under this, to be honest with you, so I wear it more in the spring summertime. So the Marie skirt was a very fun piece for me because I held 3 different types of yarn together, and I was kind of at the point where I wanted to try out different types of yarn. I had a lot of hand-dyed yarn, but I didn't know how to use hand-dyed yarn in a way where it was more wearable. I wanted my pieces to be a little bit more subtle with the color variegation, so I decided to hold my hand-dyed yarn together with solid color yarn to kind of make it more subtle. One of the yarn that I held together was the Fundamental Sock Yarn by Good Grief in the color Eucalyptus. And then I held it together with Knit Picks Curio number 10, which is actually a crochet thread, and in the color Ciel, which is like C-I-E-L. I believe it means sky in French. And then I also held it together with this blue cashmere yarn that I reverse dyed, like I removed the color of. I did this last year because I bought a cashmere yarn from AliExpress and I really did not like the color at all. So I bought one of those Rit dye removals and I just removed the color, and it made it look really pretty, like almost like a jean color, but I didn't really know what to knit with it, so I decided to hold those 3 together and I made this piece. The reason why I held crochet thread together was because I wanted this piece to be a little bit more durable and, you know, sturdy, because it is something you wear on the bottom and you stand, you sit. I wanted a piece that would kind of hold its shape and make sure the fabric wouldn't pill or fray, like all that kind of stuff. So I felt like the crochet thread really helped. Crochet thread is not something you really knit with, and it was kind of weird for me at first, but I was like, something in my head told me that it would work out, and that kind of started the whole knitting with crochet thread in my projects. But I really like how this turned out. Like, you can even just look at the fabric right here. It's gorgeous, it's absolutely beautiful, and the color variegation is just so natural. Like, I don't see any pulling at all. I don't think I see any pulling. I think it looks really great, and it kind of gives off this jean vibe, like I'm wearing a jean skirt, and that's exactly what I was going for. So I am obsessed with how this turned out. The one thing I will say about this that I feel like I want to fix in 2025 is that I ended up doing the split too low because I wanted this to sit higher up on my waist. However, the problem was I knitted the waist too wide and I couldn't make it smaller because there's an elastic in the waistband. If I make the waistband any tighter or smaller, this would actually end up looking like sweatpants, and I didn't want it to look like sweatpants. You can actually already kind of see it here, like there's like folds in here, and it wasn't looking that great. And because I made the elastic a lot wider and not so tight, and it ends up sitting lower on my hips, which then makes this split sit lower as well. So I didn't account for any of that, and I was hoping that this would sit higher on my waist so that this slit would look like it's at the right spot. Ideally, I would have put the split like up here, maybe like I would have gone up maybe 3-4 inches, and I think it would have looked a lot nicer. But right now the split is too low, which really sucks, and I think I might go in and frog it and fix it, because this piece is like perfect other than the fact that the split is too low. And when I look at photos, it kind of bothers me. I can't unsee it, so I might go in 2025 and just frog it and make the split a little bit higher up. You can also make this in a mini, midi, or maxi length, and I chose the midi length. Very customizable, and yeah, I just highly suggest you check out this pattern. I personally really like this pattern. There is a knit vlog on this one, and it is knit vlog episode number 5. I finished this one May 23rd, 2024. So there's that. At this point in the year, it was June already, and I promised my friend to knit her a summer top, and I decided on the Camisole No. 5 because I've knitted it 2 times before. It was a tried and true pattern. I knew how to knit this. I had the yarn for it already, so I decided to knit this for her. This is not the piece, by the way. This is just one of the Camisole No. 5s that I already own. Her piece is already given away. She has it already. The one I made for her, I made it in Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color Putty. I made hers a lot longer than the one I have here. I think I extended like at least 2 or 3 inches. She likes tops that are much longer, whereas this one's more cropped. I personally like it longer too, but I already cropped this and I don't feel like going back to fix this. I don't have much to say about the Camisole No. 5 because I've knitted it so many times before and it's my 3rd time knitting it. It's kind of the same thought, but I will say if you bought the pattern early, like maybe in 2023, there was a revision sometime in the year. If you bought the pattern earlier and you're knitting it now, just take a look to see if there's like a revision out, because I think one of the increases on the front or back, I don't remember where, were like written incorrectly, so take a look at that. Other than that, you know, it's just a tried and true and it looks really great. It looks good with everything. The only thing is like it's hard for us girls to wear undergarments underneath because of how deep it goes in here. So that's one thing with the Camisole No. 5 that I don't really like. And also with the neckline, I had to really make it smaller and I had to reduce like 25 or 26 stitches, somewhere around there, to make it fit around my neck. I noticed that a few people told me the same thing, where they had to reduce stitches on the neckline to make it fit. The neckline was definitely too big for me. For my friends, I knit it in a cotton merino, and personally I don't like cotton merino, and I didn't know that until I knitted this. I just felt like the cotton in the cotton merino didn't really make my stitches look tight and neat. It like left a lot of holes and I felt like it was just looking a little sparse. Personally, I don't like cotton merino for Camisole No. 5. Maybe I might like it for another project, maybe something else might fit the yarn a lot better, but for me, the double knitted armholes didn't look very nice in my opinion, and even after blocking it didn't really fix it. So that's just my thought around it. But yeah, let me know what you think. This piece is knitted on 3mm needles, so it's not like a crazy fast piece to knit. It's really tiny, and you know how summer knits are, like the yarn is thin and then the needles are smaller. So yeah, it's a really beautiful piece. It looks like a really timeless piece. And of course there is a knit vlog out for this as well. It is knit vlog episode number 6, and I finished this one on June 27th, 2024, and I literally finished it at like 2 a.m. that night, and I gave it to her later on that day. So that was like the crazy turnaround for this piece. But yeah, I love the Camisole No. 5, but I think I need to start knitting other things. Like I cannot knit a 4th Camisole No. 5. This pattern will have to be put away for a little bit. I need to try other things out. Okay, next one is the Haru vest. So the Haru vest is also a test knit. I was just kind of going through like my test knitting phase at this point. I just wanted to do a bunch of them. It was done, but I actually frogged it because I felt like I didn't do the tension properly. I made the ribbing to loose tension, whereas the cables were tighter tension, so I had to go in and fix it. That's why it looks like this right now. I am trying to reknit the ribbing and the button band. I am almost done though. I think I can probably finish by the end of this year. This is by Knits by Summer, and the Haru line by her is basically pieces with this gorgeous cable knit. I fell in love with it the moment I saw it. I first saw it in the sweater form. I tried to apply for the test knit for that, but I didn't get selected, which is completely fine because at that point, I think knitting a whole cabled sweater would have been like too much on my plate, and luckily I didn't get selected because I later applied for the vest and I got selected for the vest. Honestly, I would tell you to just look at other people's FO pictures on this because I don't think mine looks as good as theirs. So take a look at their FO pictures and how it looks on them, because I think it looks gorgeous on everybody else, and I know mine will look just as beautiful once I'm done. So if you want to see how this turns out, you can definitely stay tuned for my photos once I'm done, and I'll probably post them on my Instagram, or you can look out for my knit vlog when it comes out. But yeah, this is kind of an FO that I am fixing right now. The yarn that I use for this are 3 different yarns. One is the AliExpress cashmere yarn that I talked about for my Salty Day sweater. I also used a bit of that for this vest. And then I held the alpaca Folkatrad. I actually just have it right here, alpaca Folkatrad together. I also held the diamond mohair together with this, so it was 3 different yarns. This is knitted on size 4mm, and then the ribbons knitted on size 3mm. The knit vlog will come up when I'm done this. I felt like because I didn't knit something to perfection like how I expected myself to, I felt like I was letting myself down and everybody else down. I decided that I needed to take a mini knitting break, just a break from knitting large pieces in general. During this time in the summertime, I decided to knit the Rybka pouch. This was definitely more of a low commitment knit, something you can finish in a couple of days. I just whipped these up in like 2 to 3 days, and I gave them to my mom, my boyfriend's mom, and myself. So I actually made 3 of them, and I just really needed something to like get my mind off of the whole like knitting is stressful idea. Like I needed knitting to be fun and enjoyable again. So yeah, I just made these cute little fish pouches, and I really like these. Like, I mean, I always recommend them. I talk about them all the time with good reason because I really like it. Mine is knitted on 3 different yarn. If you look at it closely, there's a tiny bit of color variation, but it's not too noticeable. So I really felt like I like the idea of holding 3 different yarns together with one being a variegated yarn. It just looks really pretty to me, and I think this is something I'm going to be doing honestly for a lot of my projects, and you'll find me doing this a lot more. So yeah, I just like to play around with colors and yarn combinations to see how it looks. On top of that, I added crochet thread to this project as well to make the fabric a little bit more sturdy, so that it's a pouch that I can just throw anywhere and not have to worry that it's gonna snag on anything. Like literally this pouch I will throw in my backpack. I don't even care about it. I'll rummage through it and not worry that it'll break or snag. So I really like how I added crochet thread to it. And this pouch is very customizable. You can make it any length you want, any size you want, and I just made it long enough to hold my lip balm, so as you can see here, and my eye drops in case I need it. So I think this is one of my favorite accessory knits. I knitted 3, so I don't know if this counts as like 3 FOs, but I already gave away the 2. I finished this on July 20th and started on July 19th. But actually the whole week I was just like non-stop knitting these. Like I knit 3 in a row. So yeah, there is a knitting vlog up for this, and it is knitting vlog number 7. I'll stop talking about this now because I feel like I talk about it in every video, and I don't know if people are bored already, but yeah, highly recommend. I forgot to mention, but I also knitted the baby bear bonnet. It's not here with me because I gave it away already. Somebody I know had a baby in June, and I was like, I really wanted to knit something for the baby, but I didn't know what. So I decided on the baby bear bonnet because I asked you guys on Instagram, and a lot of you guys actually suggested this pattern. It's a fast, easy knit, and I already had the yarn for it. So I decided to just give it a go. I actually finished this in 1 day. It was so fast to knit. I think if you were to like knit it more comfortably, not like rush knit it, you can finish it in 2-3 days. I was just like so obsessed with knitting this that it took me 1 day to do. I knitted this in Knitting for Olive cotton merino and the color mole. And honestly, I like cotton merino for this pattern. So it's not like I hate cotton merino by Knitting for Olive. I actually like the yarn, but I just don't like it for Camisole No. 5. But for this specific piece, I really liked it. It was really soft. It felt nice, not itchy. It was smooth, and I have no complaints with this one. I bought this pattern online on the Knitting for Olive site, and it is knitted on size 4mm. It suggests a fingering weight plus a lace weight, but I didn't use the mohair because I wasn't sure if the baby would be sensitive to mohair, considering I'm very sensitive to mohair. So I just held it with just 1 strand of cotton merino. I finished this one on June 30th, started on June 29th. So let's talk about my Puro cardigan. This is my second Puro cardigan because this one's the light version. The other one I showed you was the original version, which is on Aran weight. It's more like bulky, but this one is more of a lighter weight Puro cardigan. Out of everything I made in 2024, this is for sure my most worn piece because I can wear it everywhere. And it's just such a simple throw over anything kind of piece. I've knitted this on the Sandnes Garn baby yarn, which is called Babyull Lynette, and of course that is my favorite yarn, and I use that for everything. Actually, this kind of matches my shirt right now. I'm really into this color right now, I guess. The color I used is 8521 Dusty Light Green. I only used 1 strand of this. It is more of like a sport weight, and this pattern calls for DK, but I definitely think you can make it work with the Babyull. I really like that yarn for this piece. I love how the fabric looks too. Like the stitches always look so clean with this yarn. This is similar construction to the bulky, it's just that it's on lighter weight yarn. So yeah, it's simple and not difficult at all. Like the most difficult part would be the button bands, but even that's not difficult. I have a knitting vlog up for this, and it is knitting vlog number 8. So check that one out if you want to see it. I knitted this up really recently. I finished this one October 11th, 2024. And honestly, I've been wearing this at least once or twice a week, so I think that speaks for itself. This one was also a test knit for Rui Yamamuro. This is my second test knit for her. At this point, I've knitted like 3 Rui patterns, and I don't know, I'm like a huge fan. And I want to mention the sleeves on this is like perfect sleeve length for me, and I just really appreciated that. One thing about this pattern that I tried new was I tried to block my patterns using the spin cycle on my washing machine. So instead of using a towel method to dry the piece, I actually just threw it into my washing machine and put it on one spin cycle, and it would spin it dry. I was so nervous the first time I did it because I thought I was gonna snag on my yarn or like break my whole piece, but it ended up working really well. There were no problems and it came out perfect. The yarn is still very nice. I mean, this is baby yarn, so it might be a little bit more durable, but yeah, I have no complaints. It worked so well, and I totally understand if some of you guys are worried about that, because I was also, and I wouldn't do it with every piece, but for this piece it really worked out. So I'm really glad that I got to try that one out. So that's the Puro cardigan. Let's talk about my second last FO of the year, and that is my Reglyph. I really like this hoodie, to be honest with you. This is something I've been wanting to knit for so long. I've been talking about it since the beginning of 2024, but actually I've seen it before that and I wanted to knit it before that. This was part of the Amirisu Cosmology 2024 collection, and I bought the full pattern book PDF from the Amirisu site. I wish I had the actual physical copy, but I don't think they print it anymore, or I just don't know where to find it, to be honest with you. I wish I had that, but it's okay. I have the PDF version, and the PDF comes with several patterns. It's actually just the whole book. This is written by Kiyomi Bergen, and she has a twin sister named Sachiko, and she and her sister both work together to write patterns for the Cosmology collection. I knit this in a size small. Again, I held 3 different yarns together. I really tend to do that. Like, I really like playing around with yarn, just because I think it really makes it more unique and subtle, and it just looks so natural. The 3 yarns I held together were Good Grief Fundamental Sock in the color Blue Sage. Then I held it together with Knit Pick Stroll. It's actually the tonal version in the color Eucalyptus. And the last yarn is the Leo and Roxy yarn an 80/20 natural sock in the color Dew. Actually 3 of these were yarn that I had in stash, and I kind of knew that they would look good together, but I didn't really know what to knit with it. So I decided that putting it together would kind of give me a thicker yarn weight and might actually work for this hoodie. This hoodie is supposed to be knitted in Daruma Geek, which is a bulky weight, but with my 3 yarn together, and also I upsized my needle by like 0.5 millimeter, I was kind of able to meet gauge, so I felt more comfortable knitting in that combination. In the end, I think it turned out perfect and it fits me really well. This is knitted on 6 millimeter needle, and then the ribbing is like 5 millimeter, but I upsized everything to 6.5 and 5.5, and that worked really well for me. It was my first time knitting hood, and actually there were a lot of techniques in here that I've never done before, like 3 needle bind off, mattress stitch. I did mattress stitching on the side here, and also mattress stitching on the sleeve, which didn't know about, so that was great. And then just like the hood, I've never knitted a hood before. The drawstrings were very long when I first finished it, but I think they look okay tied up, so I've just been tying it up in a bow, which I really like as well. This is a lace pattern, and the lace is easy and fast to knit. It is not difficult at all, so I really enjoyed this. And also, just like when you knit on pretty yarn, it makes you feel so excited about the piece, and that's exactly how I felt when knitting this. I finished knitting this on November 22nd, 2024, and I've worn it a few times, but the problem is I can't really wear this to work. Like, I don't think this is work attire, like office attire, so that's the one thing I'll say about it. This is more of like a lounge at home or going out to run errands attire. So yeah, I would say I like it, but only maybe for like at home lounging. unless your job allows for something like this, and that would be perfect. I would love to just wear this to work and be cozy all day. It is knitted bottom up, which I've never done before, and you knit everything flat and separately, then you sew it together, which is also very different for me. Of course, we have a knit vlog that just came out for this, and it is knit vlog episode 9, so definitely check that one out. I have way more in-depth details on it, and yeah, I really like this piece. Okay, we're on my last one. And I am literally about to lose my voice, so let's see if we can get through this. I feel like this is gonna be a super long video, so I hope you're still here. This is my most recent FO of the year, and it is the Amarisu MCAL for 2024. They have an MCAL every year. They do a shawl. This year was the Water Drop Stories, and it's all water themed, so because of that I decided to use a blue yarn. This one is knitted in the Sandnes Garn Mandarin Petit, which is the one that I used for my Baguette bag that I just showed you earlier. It's the same yarn. I used like the remaining leftover yarn for this, and it worked out perfectly. I didn't have to buy any more. Like, I actually just used it all in this shawl. And then this other main color is from Juno Woolies that I purchased on my trip when I went to Alaska this summer, and I feel like it looks so good. Like, it really goes well together. I really wear shawls, but let's wear it. This was my first time doing an MCAL, and I figured the MCAL would be really fun because you're kind of knitting together with people, kind of like test knits, right? I almost feel like test knits are knit-alongs, but like to me this felt like I was doing something with a group of people, and it was really fun to see everyone's progress, and the fact that you don't know what's coming next and the mystery part of it made it more exciting because you're like, oh my god, what am I gonna do, and like what other people are kind of guessing it's gonna turn into. So that aspect of an MCAL is so fun for me. But the problem was I reached a point in the MCAL where I couldn't keep up, and I couldn't finish the clue before the next clue came out. So I kind of felt like I was being left behind. I mean, not to anyone's doing but my own, of course. I just couldn't keep up with knitting fast enough and finishing it up. So I feel like I fell apart at clue 3, where Clue 3 just took me so long to knit that I finished it by the time the MCAL was completely over. Clue 1 and 2 were really fun because I was able to finish it before the next clue and also like compare what I have to what other people have. So I really enjoyed that, but Clue 3 just completely derailed me. Like, that was it. I think because of Clue 3, I don't know if I'll do an MCAL again. I think they're fun, but maybe not for me and my knitting schedule and my knitting speed. So yeah, MCALs might have to wait. But regardless, I still am very proud of this piece because it was my first time knitting lace. As you can see, this is a lace pattern and it is absolutely gorgeous. I've never knitted a delicate lace piece before this, so I really like that I got to experience it with this MCAL. And there were a few firsts with this too, like these scallop edges, never done before. And then there's also lace knitting here. This one's Clue 4, this one's Clue 3. Clue 4 was really easy to knit, honestly. Like, this one was not a problem, but it was this one right here that was really difficult for me. There were just a lot of combinations that I had to really use my brain and focus on, so I didn't screw up and have to frog. But yeah, I think this is a really fun piece for me. My first official lace shawl. I've knitted like a Zofia shawl before, but I don't even count that really as a shawl. Like, to me that one feels more like a scarf, even though I can drape it like a shawl. But I feel like this one's like really what you think of when you think of a knitted shawl, like all the lace knitting and all the colors and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really glad that I got to knit this and experience it, and now that I have it in my collection, it's honestly so pretty. And yeah, I really like it and I really treasure it. I don't have a knit vlog out for this one yet. It'll come in the new year. If you're interested in that, stay tuned. It will be out probably in a month or so. Alright, that's it for this video. I think I went through everything I knit this year. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some inspiration on what to knit, or maybe you're knitting the same thing. Let me know. Have you knitted these pieces, or are you planning to knit these pieces? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. I think in 2024, my passion for knitting was just so strong, and I just wanted to join every test knit that was available and wanted to knit every pattern and try all different types of yarn. And that kind of burnt me out in the middle of the year, and I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I felt like maybe I was doing too much at once. In 2025, I want to be more mindful of what I knit and the time and effort I put into for each piece. I want to make sure everything I do is something that I really enjoy and treasure. Not that the things I did in 2024 are not something I enjoyed. It's just I want to be more mindful now. So I think I will be focusing more on actually fixing some of the pieces that I talked about. For example, the Marie skirt is something I love, but I really want to make the slit higher and make it more aligned with what I have in my mind. I was actually thinking of fixing my Ingrid slipover that I did in 2023 because that piece is way too large and I don't wear it because it's so big. So I kind of want to frog it and knit it smaller. 2025 is just a lot about intentional, mindful knitting and that I wear every piece I make, because right now I can definitely say some of the pieces I don't wear and I wish I would wear more, and most of the time it just requires me fixing a tiny bit of it. I also want to knit more from my pattern books in 2025, so you will see a lot more of that as well in the new year. I will be trying to reduce my stash in 2025. I know I've been purchasing yarn here and there for some projects, but I'm gonna try to use up some of the yarn that I already have in 2025. But yeah, that will be my plan for in the new year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun recapping my whole year. There were things in here that even I forgot about until I looked back at my Ravelry page and like all my photos and stuff. So I'm glad that we got to go through it all together again so that I can jog my memory and remember everything I did. I like these videos because it makes you realize how much you've done in a year, because a year passes by so fast and then you're like, where did time go? Like, what did I even do? But now we know exactly what I did. Hopefully 2024 has treated you well, and I just want to thank you guys for supporting my channel and being a part of my YouTube family here. I really feel like I met a lot of you in 2024 and I talked to a lot of you and really gained a lot of friends on here, so thank you for that. I really appreciate you guys, and I always say that you guys teach me a lot because you do, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you so much for watching my videos, supporting me, chatting with me. I really appreciate it, and I really like the community that we've built in 2024. Let's continue to do so in 2025, and I'll work really hard to post more knit vlogs and share more of my projects with you guys. And also Wilfred, I know you guys really like Wilfred. I'm gonna try to get him more in the videos, but he's just like sleeping over there. He does not want to be here right now, so I don't know. I'm gonna try to get him to be in my videos more often. We will try 2025. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I am so happy you watched till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!